e-learning music tutor. You may think, hey, this is weird, you don't have an instrument in your hand, and you're kind of weirdly positioned, and you're right on both occasions. Today we will be working with the keyboard for the intervals lesson. So welcome to Music Theory 2 Intervals. This is pretty much the last time you're going to see my face, so enjoy it while it lasts. But seriously, intervals are just really the spaces between the notes, and unless you've been learning music since you were a small child, and when I say small child I mean 4 or 5 years old, you have zero chance, or almost zero chance, of having perfect pitch. The ability to have perfect pitch really is tied to learning music at a very young age, to be able to say, that's a C, and that's an F, and that's another C, is something most humans can't do. And that's just a fact of reality. We accept this and move on. Most musicians don't have perfect pitch. But what they do have is they have a keen sense of understanding the internal reaction, how their mind feels, how their body feels when they hear certain intervals. And an interval is that, the step between from one note to the other. The interval is the measurement of the difference in the frequencies, if you will. If you've listened to any of my prior videos where I talked about intervals and stuff like that, I explained that the human ear is an incredible machine that does all sorts of advanced calculus all by itself. No user input required, and it converts these intervals into fractions, and the simplicity of the fractions is what sounds more resonant to the original tone. It's the reason why this sounds better than this, right? Or right? It's just the complexity of the math that has to happen in order to resolve to your brain what your ears are actually picking up, the sound waves, and the difference in those sound waves. Let's, without any further ado, move over to here. Okay, so as we can see, we have our keyboard in front of us. And if you look at the PDF, this is where I start, and the initial PDF is a large portion, but the stacking thirds is between these two. I do apologize for the sound on the instrument. I'm going to just try to move the mic because I'm not feeding it through DI, I'm actually feeding it through MuseScore, and I'm not sure how well it's going to show up audibly. It should show fine as far as making the noise, but it's more of a how everything's going to mix it together. So, and now we get to see firsthand me talking with my hands. The first interval, the most basic intervals that we have, are half steps and whole steps. Half steps are usually very dissonant. And that's pretty much the only two combinations you get. You get one white key, one black key, or you get two white keys. and that's it. Whole steps, on the other hand, are basically double of a half step. Now, I'm using the American term, but the European term would be tone and semitone. Semitone meaning a half of a tone, and a tone, or a whole step, being a whole tone. Now, with whole tones, you have two black keys, two white keys, two black keys, or in certain occasions, a white and a black key, or a black and a white key. So, why is this important? Well, the reason why it's important is because it really is how we get information from music. We don't get information from music like this. That's a C, that's an E. We get music from that's how we confer information, is by mixing the tones together, and those intervals are what give our brain the indication that a message is being sent. So, with that being said, the whole tone and the half tone are basic building blocks. Music as a language, you need an alphabet. That's your alphabet right there. Now, from there, if we take two whole tones and put them together, we get what's called a major third. And if we put a whole note and a half note together, we get a minor third. Now, a half tone and a half tone together, obviously, is just a whole tone. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel and make every combination, because some combinations are covered by a larger combination, obviously. So our first interval, the third, our first compound interval, the third, that's the major third, that's the minor third. Major third, minor third. And you'll notice that it's 1, 2, 3, 4 for a major third, and 3 for a minor third. Okay, so beyond that, we have the next interval that we come to, which is a compound of the third, is the fifth. And if you're wondering where these names come from, it's just in the scale where they come from. In the scale is where they come from, sorry. Let's be completely clear here. You have 1, C, where we're starting, and C has no accidentals, so there's no sharps, no flats. We're not going to touch the black keys at all. We have a second interval, a third interval, a fourth interval, a fifth interval, a sixth interval, seventh interval, and then the tone. Okay? And that's our full 7-note scale plus the octave, right? So our fifth, the G, how do we find that? Well, in a major chord, in a major triad, which would be the root, the major third, and a fifth, we just go up a minor fifth. You know, just like there's 2 notes between our third and our fifth. And in the minor, we do this reflexively. We go up a major fifth. Major, minor triad. And then building up from there, if we stack another third, now you have your major. You can stack a minor triad, which would give us a dominant chord, a major triad, which would give us a major chord, and then on the minor we can stack a minor triad, give us a minor 7 chord, and then we could also stack a major, and it will get into a very complicated world of the minor major 7 chord. Very strangely dissonant. There are other chords. There are diminished chords, augmented chords, and all the like, but that's really getting into much deeper theory than we really need for our initial learning of the language. The building blocks, that's well beyond the building blocks. We don't need to worry about it. And for functional theory, for what you're going to be using in a practical sense, it's less important. We have our 1, we have our 3, we have our 5, we have our 7 or flat 7 or flat 3 too. Don't want to forget that. There are other notes, the 2, 4, 6, and how do we find them? Well, within the octave, it's just best to know where they are. Like, you know where a whole step, a half step is, you know where a whole step is. Well, if you know where a whole step is, then you know where the 2 is. The 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 notes up, and then the 6 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 notes up. The other way to discover them is to open it up to a second octave, and you'll see that it's on the handout. For example, you go major third, and then on top of that you do a minor third, and then on top of that you do a major third, and then on top of that you do a minor third, and there you have your ninth, the ninth note in this 2-octave scale, the D, and then you go up another minor third, and you have the F, and then last but not least you go up a major third, and let's see if I can pull this off. The 13th, which is the 6th, the A. Now there's an A here. That's just an octave up A. Okay, so now with all of the bases, how do we work on identifying our intervals? Well, the only way to do that is to really practice it. And there are plenty of programs out there put out by music universities. They're free to use on the internet and what have you, and I fully support utilizing those to check yourself. However, when it comes to actually training your ear, your best option is always going to be use your instrument. Now granted, I'm not using a bass, which is my instrument, but the piano is going to be the surrogate for my bass. To be able to understand it in context, you have to be able to use it within the frequencies that you're going to be playing and that you're going to be performing in. I mean, I suppose I could sit down here and, but I think that's harder to hear. I think that's like C5. 5. Oh, that's fun. We'll do with that. Yeah, alright. So, now I'm going to also apologize because you're going to have to listen to me sing for this. So, be prepared. We're going to start with C. C. This is our 1, 1, 1, and now we're going to add an interval. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And what you're really doing is you're training your ears to get used to the interval while you're mentally attaching it to this this transfer from 1 to 2. When you get it to the point where it becomes ear muscle memory, I guess we could call it, this won't throw you for a loop because it's the same as that. This won't throw you for a loop because it's the same as that, right? This won't throw you for a loop because it's the same, right? We're basically looking to identify the interval, not necessarily the nature of the exact note, but the interval. We use a 12-tone equal temperament scale, which means that all of the intervals throughout the keys are going to be exactly identical. Okay? No matter what major key you use, your 1 to 2 will be that. It's always going to have that texture to it. So we're going to sit on 1, 2, and really just sit there and identify it, feel it. Try to understand how it makes you feel. And since we're working with a major chord as our primer, we are going to get to minor chords. I do also suggest you expand to flat tonality, minor tonality, dominant tonality, everything. Just try to work with as much as possible, getting it into your ears. It's the reason why when you play music, you should probably listen to a lot of music, so that you get exposed to a lot of different ideas to improve your ability to understand what's being played and to improve your ability to know what you want to play to express what you're looking to express with your music. So we shouldn't forget the minor third, and you can feel the dissonance in it as compared to the major third. So working with the major scale, we're just gonna sit with that third and really feel it. Now, you can move your major third around so that you're playing it on different notes. But in general, you want to keep to like off of the root, because this is going to be your home, your ground. Alright, so especially when you're trying to train your brain, if you stay on one note and then move around your intervals, it's going to be better for you. It's going to work out better for you. So we have our second, we have our third, our major third. Now we're going to go to our perfect fourth. And you can already notice that you have now 3 different emotions really attached. You can feel the music, right? The fifth, I'm not going to tell you what you should be thinking about or what that music should mean to you, but I assign meanings to every single one of these tones. The sixth, the seventh, and the eighth. The eighth is just the octave. So, now when we do this exercise, it's not going to be this quick. When you're doing this exercise, you're going to probably want to sit on each interval for a good 10 bars, just to get comfortable with it, and do it over the period of weeks. If you want to, if you say, okay, well, I only have 15 minutes to practice this, so I'm going to work on this set of intervals this week and then this set of intervals that week, that's fine too. Once you start reliably getting these under your fingers and into your ears, you have to then always try to keep up with it. You're always going to want to come back to this exercise, even if it's just for 15 minutes throughout the whole thing and only doing like a couple of bars of each one, just to make sure that it stays fresh in your mind. Just like when we warm up, we do our technique exercises with fretting, with permutations, with strumming permutations. This is another thing that we're going to want to do to warm up, because we want to warm up our ears, just as we want to warm up our hands. So this is generally how I do it. I do it without a click track. I just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'll move on to thirds. And because I'm really uncomfortable with talking and playing at the same time, and I don't want to mess up, I'm going to hum the interval. So on and so forth. So now let me go back over here and sit in this really uncomfortable position with this microphone in my face. Get out of my face, microphone. Okay, so with all that being said, this is how I work on my ear training and how I work on identifying intervals, because I also do not have perfect pitch. I started learning instruments when I was a teenager and also subsequently put it down for a really long time. So with that being said, I absolutely am incapable of identifying a pitch by letter name or at all. I can tell which ones are higher, which ones are lower, and about how far away they are from each other, and that is all due to this exercise. So by all means, absolutely engage in this exercise. It will help you musically down the road. It'll help you know what pitches you're looking for, and If you're looking to transcribe other people's songs, it will assist you in finding those pitches that you're looking for within that lick or that riff or that groove that you're looking for. It will help you creatively in the fact that when you hear the melody in your head, it will be easier for you to transfer that onto your instrument, basically by doing this. Now, as far as all of those online programs I was talking about, yes, I completely support using them. They are great non-biased checks. And what I mean by that is that you can't cheat it. You can't go, oh, well, I know what interval this is. So it's really like a blind test. You get two tones and you get told which one is it, and then you have to you have a selection of tones to choose from, and that is a great check on your progress, though I do not suggest it being the source of your training, because then you're basically going, okay, well, I hear this interval, I don't know it, let me guess, oh, it's that one, and then it's gone, and you can't really re-listen to it. Using this method, if you go, that's a fifth, oh wait, no, it's not, it's a third, and then the next time it comes up in that program, you're going to recognize that interval because you know that you're weak at making that mental math. You don't have that mental muscle in place, and you're going to work on that one to make sure that you get that one down. If you can't identify that, then you need to do this exercise. That's basically where it's at. There are basic intervals that we hear in pop music all the time that are used and reused and abused all the time, and this is going to help you actually hear how all those musicians they make these mashups of songs that just fit together perfectly, and there's a reason why. But we'll get into that further down the road of music theory. This has been Indie Learning Music Tutor. I'm your tutor, Harry. Thank you for coming by.